I met George in '76, and he gave me his loft on Broadway, 537. It was his workshop, and then I spent all these years until '84 when I left America for France to live in a little village in South France. So a lot of things happened during the 2 years I was seeing George. We were close. He was living on Worcester Street. Yeah. And that's the story I want to read to you, right? George Maciunas that's what I wrote, represents an artist who followed without failure his aspirations. All right? Very early one morning, it was cold. George has been arrested just outside of his apartment by an attorney general and a policeman. Was in '77, I think was in February. They allowed him to go back to his apartment for his coat, because he was cold. He said, "I'm cold," so they didn't attach his arm with menottes, but fortunately, because he lived in the basement on a building on Worcester Street, and his apartment was accessible by a very narrow winding stair. This is correct in English?
Yeah.
Winding stair?
Yes.
Staircase. That came to a minuscule landing which was at his door. The lock of the door was framed by 4 iron blades, Swedish blade, just like that. So you couldn't manipulate the lock to open the door. Because he was waiting for this with arrestation, you know. Because first he was having problem with Italian mafia. He had already been half killed. You know, half killed means he was one day in his loft, in his workshop. You know, he was beaten and had 16 points, and he lost an eye at this point.
Wow.
So he was very, very anxious and waiting for all these things. So all of that setting has been well thought out. This allowed him to dodge from the 2 officers, reach his apartment, lock the door. He then yelled, "Now, Attorney General, come and get me." Yeah, through the door. 1 minute later, he was out by a secret exit. In fact, he was living just under the Cinematheque of Jonas Mekas. It was just above. So he managed a door to open, to go from his downstairs apartment to the first floor when he was as a door in the middle of the Cinematheque, little Cinematheque, right? Sometimes later, he moved out to live in Massachusetts. Meanwhile, he stayed in contact with the Attorney General, to whom he would send each week for months from Europe, Asia, Africa, Oceania, America. Perhaps I exaggerate, but a lot of continent. He sent a postcard with a photo of himself with these words, "Now, Attorney General, come and get me." Right? Today I still ask myself, what has the Attorney General done with this rare collection of postcards? So I found after his death his anagram of his name. Unfortunately, he never saw that because he already died before. But gag can be art, why not?